Welcome to the last day of Week 3 of LPL Showdown. Most of tonight's games might drag on, but at the very least, make sure you watch Invictus Gaming versus Snake to end the storyline of Baka's gauntlet against LPL's best mid laners in 3 sets, one each day, in Week 3. Otherwise, we've got the details on whether or not you should check out the rest. Master 3 versus Gamtee will start out the night, and it's kind of a case of, can Master 3 find their buttons? Can Dade remember how to play his champions? For a bit of context, M3 has 3 very experienced players on their roster, and Candy and LoveCD have both been on the cusp of the amateur and professional scenes for quite some time. Candy, after all, used to play on World Elite Academy, now known as M3, before being replaced by SMLZ. When the rebranding occurred, Candy retook his position on the roster. Gamtee, on the other hand, is a very new, very young team. Their mid laner Xiao, who only just came of age this week and was able to play his first LPL games against Energy Pacemaker, where Gamtee split 1-1. With a jungler like Raw and M3, who heavily favors early pressure picks like Vi and Pantheon to get his lane snowballing, these historically reliable solo laners, Dade and Looper, should conquer most of the teams in LPL. Unfortunately, Dade has seemingly forgotten how to play half of his own preferred champion picks, and his decision to show up seems to be based on whether or not his tea time that morning was cancelled on the golfing range. Gamtee has a lot of fresh talent on their roster, but most of their movements are plagued by, frankly, passive play and questionable decision-making. They've been hoping for Xiao, who's returned to create a playmaker at their core, but it didn't work out so well last night with him on Seraph. The team could do better with him on a playmaking signature pick like Zed, but even with M3 only half carrying, Gamtee shouldn't have much of a chance overall.
Vici versus King is a matchup that we kind of scoped out initially to be something that would be heavily in King's favor, but the interesting thing about this matchup is that it's a team we perceive to be a huge threat in King, underperforming, versus a team's threat that speaks for themselves based on the lineup alone underperforming in Vici. Now, neither of these teams are bottom of the barrel bad, but they're also teams that we perceive should have the potential to be top 5. And since there's 12 places in China, that's, you know, the upper half, easily. Unfortunately, that's just not the case so far. It's really questionable sometimes. I do feel like both these teams are getting on their legs and they're doing better now, but both of them actually have a losing record, and they're actually both at 3-5 for their overall game win and loss. Now, the thing is that Vici has had, I feel like Vici has had a bit more of a difficult path. When we talk about teams that are lower in the standings, sometimes we're concerned because of the teams they face, but if we look at Vici Gaming's history this tournament so far, you have them facing LGD and OMG, which they both got 0-2'd. They both went 0-2 too. So it is kind of rough for them. And I will say that in those games that they got 0-2'd, they did put up a decent fight. They weren't really convincing clean sweeps. Like, they actually looked like they were competing. So it feels more of a case that if Vici Gaming irons out their shit, that it'll be a lot easier for them to climb the rankings. King is a different story. King is someone we perceive to already be good. Team that's already had good games against EDG, consistently play second place in the off-season tournaments in summer. Windsor. But yeah, I don't know. They haven't really been showing up. They've been doing okay, but they're not this team that's like top 3 that we perceive them to be just yet. Now, they have the chance to do that, but not so much. Now, when I'm pointing out the players to watch here, it's actually not going to be the superstar Koreans of Dandy and Mata in Vici Gaming this time around. Obviously, these two are a world-class pairing. They are extremely convincing. They're really good at what they do, and they synergize well together. But actually, to be honest with you, I think the standout players are Carry and Hitong for this team. Carry's had strong top lane performances, doing his job, landing his Rumble ult, stuff like that. Hitong, you know, I thought, okay, I'm a little bit skeptical because I remember this guy not being the greatest mid laner, but when he pulled out his first Azir game, it was like, wow, okay, this guy really is has strong carry potential for his team. But he was using Azir, who's insanely broken. But he's actually played a larger variety of champions now. And this leads me to believe that he's actually quite good of a mid laner. I actually feel like in this team, Vasily might be the weakest link of the team, despite being pretty good in comparison to other ADs in North America. Just because you have Dandy and Mata, you can't discount them. But Carry and Hitong have both proven to be carry threats. So it's crazy just how much threat is on this team. The roster really speaks for itself in terms of threat. Now King, their mid lane and jungler are okay, but and their AD carry and support are good when they play together. And lately, their AD carry's been playing a little bit better, getting a few more autos off in his team fights. But the real highlight here is Sky, of course. We bring him up every time, but Sky is still the highlight of this team. He was LSPL talent that was stuck in LSPL basically while having a top 3 performance style top lane. This guy is really, really good, and I want to see the matchup of him versus Carry. Just because I feel like Carry is one of the most improved players in this season so far, but Sky has basically the biggest ego to fulfill, essentially, just because he was coming in, and everybody's like, oh man, Sky's going to shake things up. He's such a great top laner, and he's been hidden in LSPL for so long. Now, this is especially true domestically. Obviously, there's been some top laners that have come over and shaken things up themselves, but in terms of just straight-up Chinese top laners, he's very, very good. Probably top 2, top 3.
Snake versus Invictus Gaming is important in the scheme of finally ranking Snake appropriately. In the rigorous schedule, Snake have already faced the giants of OMG, EDG, and LGD, taking pieces off every major team in booming success for the projected rookies. This match, theoretically, should be a one-sided victory to Snake given the standings at face value, but will act as a measuring point for Snake's consistency, which is really the looming question on their continued success. They should have matured style from their LSPL days, refining Flandre's champion pool to meta picks like Cassidon and Rumble, and are unique in their manipulation of wave control with his split-pushing background due to being a top-heavy team. It was suspected that they'd crumble under the veteran control of late-game objectives. And despite a lopsided OMG set, Snake must be praised for their ability to evolve in the demanding circumstances they faced. Invictus Gaming, on the other side, are on a completely different court, coming out of middle of the pack and an extremely easy schedule that is finally beginning to ramp up after their loss to Vici Gaming. Yes, the duo of Kakao and Rookie have been far more effective than Zatai and Save, but their opponents in Energy Pacemaker, Gamtee, and World Elite aren't a challenge. And after the splinter of Vici, the question of who starts on IG's roster drastically changes the makeup of this match. Flandre vs. Save or Flandre vs. Pokemon would be the hinge on which this game swings, but the better bet is Kakao vs. Beast. Now, Beast has shown a surprising amount of diversity in his warding style in tandem with Snake's support Ella, and it's time to really put them to the test against the creative pathing and aggression of Kakao. If Beast can gather the information needed for Flandre to stomp top and make the plays cross-map, or if Kakao can outmaneuver Snake with the duo of Rookie or Zatai, will surely tell the story of Snake's dominance with teams overlooking them, or actual rising talent.
Starhorn Royal Club vs EDG doesn't have the same feel of a Season 4 World Semifinal rematch. But times change, and so do rosters. EDG has moved for Def to take Name's spot on the roster, and guess where he ended up? Starhorn Royal Club. Unfortunately, he's still unable to play for the team, and it'll be up to HYY to continue to hold down the bottom lane with Zero. Starhorn has been consistently in the middle of the pack, strong enough to stand over M3 and King, but unable to take games off of OMG and LGD. They've also changed their in-game tone as they seem to play a much safer, but just as structured of a game. Zero and Insect's map movements have been pretty stellar, with Korn and Kola proving to be the real carriers in the team. Which brings me to a highlight player in Starhorn Royal Club being HYY. If HYY performs well, then they might be able to overtake EDG this set. HYY's laning phase has been pretty poor, so he's seen himself in more 2v1 situations than not. But I think he has a good chance winning lane versus Deft and Mouse Call Me Crazy, if given the chance. With the rest of his team proving to be pretty consistent, he needs to pick up the slack if Starhorn Royal Club hopes to take the match, or even just a game. Edward Gaming has shown themselves to be a top 3 team in the league, if not simply the best. The blemish on their record versus Snake isn't something to discredit them either. If there was a chance for Starhorn Royal Club to catch EDG sleeping, that would have been the moment. But there it goes. EDG's awake, and though they've been criticized for their weaker laning phase, that'll mean nothing in the eyes of their mid to late game shot calling. Which segues perfectly into Clearlove being the highlight player of EDG. Clearlove's team fighting, shot calling, and objective control will win them this set. It's in surety. Starhorn is outmatched both mechanically and strategically here. 2-0 for EDG.
Turn professional scenes for quite some time. Candy, after all, used to play on World Elite Academy, now known as M3, before being replaced by SNLZ. When the rebranding occurred, Candy retook his position on the roster. Gamtee, on the other hand, is a very new, very young team. Welcome to the last day of Week 3 of LPL Showdown. Most of tonight's games might drag on, but at the very least, make sure you watch Invictus Gaming versus Snake to end the storyline of Baka's gauntlet against LPL's best mid laners in 3 sets, 1 each day, in Week 3. Otherwise, we've got the details on Dade and Looper should conquer most of the teams in LPL. Unfortunately, Dade has seemingly forgotten how to play half of his own preferred champion picks, and his decision to show up seems to be based on whether or not his tea time that morning was cancelled on the golfing range. Gamtee has a lot of fresh talent on their roster, but most whether or not you should check out the rest. Master 3 versus Gamtee will start out the night, and it's kind of a case of, can Master 3 find their buttons? Can Dade remember how to play his champions? For a bit of context, M3 has 3 very experienced players on their roster, and Candy and LoveCD have both been on the cusp of the amateur laner Xiao, who only just came of age this week and was able to play his first LPL games against Energy Pacemaker, where Gamtee split 1-1. With a jungler like Raw and M3, who heavily favors early pressure picks like Vi and Pantheon to get his lane snowballing, these historically reliable solo laners